Another week, another Wheelhouse cycling podcast. I'm Catherine Bates, joined in the studio by Hendrikus Vogels. Hank, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm middle of winter good.
Middle of winter good, but you turned up in shorts and a T-shirt, so let's not overplay the winter part here.
And don't kid yourself. There's no such thing as winter in Queensland.
Queensland. Merksy, you're here too. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Also in shorts and T-shirt?
When I said park your bike in the studio, Hank,
Yeah,
I didn't mean quite like that, but it looks cool.
that's a good parking spot.
Not
It is.
bad.
It's kind of show and tell. We're going to go into that. We've got a bit to cover today because the UCI have just dropped in our laps an entire show, essentially. WTF UCI. Let me just read a comment for you. This rule disregards the realities of our bodies and how we race, creating unnecessary risk. Every rider deserves equipment that fits and supports their safe performance. Hank, what are we talking about?
Handlebars, big gears, fork width, all the ridiculous things that the UCI just has. They're really just doing it for their, to keep their existence. Really, it's
to seem relevant and important.
Ridiculous.
Well, Amanda Spratt said, I don't think it's logical to potentially enforce a blanket rule for male and female riders. Neve Fisher-Black on Instagram with a tape measure in her hand showed us that her bars are 36 centimetres wide. 40 centimetres is what the UCI has said. Blanket rule, bars cannot be narrower. What?
Well,
F?
Yeah, I think also that the UCI is taking it from the bottom of the handlebar. So some and most handlebars do flare somewhat. So I think the riders are still going to get away with the smaller handlebar because they're taking the measurement from the bottom of the handlebars. So I think it won't stick in any way, shape or form. Those ridiculous handlebars that where the riders are actually getting so close that it's almost an aero-like position. I agree with that. That's like a time trial position on the road now. So those crazy 28 centimetre handlebars where they're literally touching should be banned. But when you see some of the girls, I think their shoulder blades are shorter than the 36 centimetre. So they'll be riding out. And I mean, in cyclists, people always throw out the term, looks like he or she's riding a farm gate. That's what they'll look. Yeah. It'll look ridiculous.
And so the UCI has done this for ostensibly for safety, saying that the really dramatic positions where the hoods are angled in and they're very aero, they're not very safe for steering and they're putting people in danger. Except that I don't know if you've ever tried, you're quite broad-shouldered, but imagine if you rode a pair of handlebars that were 50 centimetres. Yeah. Do you think you'd be able to control the bike in the same way?
It's ridiculous. It's like trying to move a truck around a corner when you're trying to go around on a motorbike. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So for me, with this rule, I don't think it's going to stand up whatsoever. Like if they want to slow down the cyclist, and we'll get to this around the gears, then I think they should just get off Zwift and get an actual racing license where they do skills training because they already bring in the hood rule. So if you remember, Kate, 3 or 4 months ago, all the riders had their handlebar hoods at a 45-degree angle. That has been enforced to, I think, 5 or some kind of degree. They still have them in, but you can't have them in at a 45-degree angle.
And that's fine. That makes sense.
That's understandable. But then now doing what they're doing with this handlebar, for me, makes no sense. And it sucks for the ladies because they're always going to be not as broad-shouldered as you kindly put out my shoulders. I'm quite broad.
Well,
yeah,
the last thought of when they first built bike frames, they weren't women specific. In fact, they weren't even small enough for a lot of the female peloton. And you had to get quite creative to get around it. Now they're bringing in rules that with consultation, there's already been 2,500 pro or semi-pro female cyclists who have signed a petition say
that's
this
gonna
is
grow
ridiculous.
Too. That's just going to grow.
It will grow. I mean,
it's not like the UCI to not talk to the female peloton.
no, not like the UCI at all. Now, I mean, what they're trying to do is slow the tech arms race and make sure that the sport keeps up with it. Their official comment was, we want equipment to serve the sport, not dictate it. So let's move on to something that may well be justified with that comment. And we're talking about forks. So we saw at the Olympics last year on the beautiful track bikes that the British team rode, that the Australian team, some of them rode, the factors, the beautiful forks that are quite wide rather than really narrow. Aerodynamically, they're much better and they've provided a real uplift in any kind of testing. That's now moved to the road. We've seen some factor bikes with them. Jake Stewart doing very well on one that we talked about last show is a bit of a prototype or next type. Why are the UCI also trying to regulate the width of gap between forks?
Well, I can understand the UCI bringing in some geometry stuff. Now, if we go back some years, Kate, remember Graham O'Brien when he put a washing machine together and made a bike?
Yeah. The Flying Scotsman.
The Flying Scotsman, where he was laying on his handlebar, essentially.
Yep.
I would hate for any of the male or female peloton to be doing that on a road race criterium or even a track event. I understand that. I think it will look ridiculous if we have forks that are the width or further apart than your knees.
Does it matter how they look, or is it like, is that a consideration as well, like the look of it? Because I guess the reputation of the sport comes into it in some way.
If we look at F1 cars, have a look at what the Ferraris used to look like in 1965 as compared to now, and that's progress. So we've still got to have progress, but I understand that the UCI has to bring in some limitations, some warranted, some very unwarranted. Now, the fork rule, and this is the only thing I'm going to say about this, on this fork rule, is that one of our bikes, which I can't name, is UCI legal, and it pretty much will be the benchmark moving forward. So, but yeah, I mean, with that geometry, I can't give you any numbers or any other inside information on that bike apart from that it is UCI legal, and it wouldn't be able to be ridden in the Dauphiné Libre or the Tour de France, that prototype bike of ours, unless it was passed by the UCI in talks with the UCI. So
I mean, something I find really frustrating is we can sit and debate, the value of these rules. Some of them, I understand the fork, there is some thought and value to that rule. The handlebars, I think, is ridiculous, even though we can see where they may be coming from. But it really bothers me when they do it retrospectively, because we're in an expensive sport. So you might think about the pros and go, okay, well, the teams will just replace everything. What about grassroots? What about kids at club races who can barely afford a second-hand bike? What are they supposed to go out and get a new pair of handlebars?
Well, handlebars these days are $1,200. They are $1,200 for it. So you've already spent that. So now you've got to go and buy another one, and to keep up with the aero world, you're going to buy another $1,200 handlebar, which is now $38 to $40. So, and then I might add, you go to a bike shop, it's going to charge you $300 to change that. So there we go. We're already at $2,000 to change your handlebars. So I did see overnight in an Instagram post, I couldn't find it, and I can't quote you on who said it, but the UK Cycling Federation has said that they are not going to uphold that rule. So in UK races, they're going to say, no, we're not going to enforce the rule, which I think every single federation should do the same, so that the UCI kind of understands, okay, let's just put a pause on this for 2025 so that in 2026 or 2027 we have some consultation with male and female cyclists, professional, track, road, whatever discipline we're in cycling. It just really cracks me that the UCI just come out with this stuff. Like, it's ridiculous. Like they want to say more safety in sport. So let's change geometry of handlebars. Let's change, gear ratios. Let's change fork width. Why don't they just make riders get off Zwift and go and do like some serious professional training on risk management? What are they going to do next? Oh, that hill's too steep. Can't go down there. Oh, there's a 90-degree turn. We can't go around 90-degree turns anymore. Like, where does it stop? Like, it's got to be a different answer than handlebar width, fork width, and gear ratio.
What about, and I'm thinking on the go here, so I might get in a bit of strife for this one, but what about a minimum skills test to be eligible for the World Tour or the Pro Tour?
I agree. It should be done. You should be able to get down a 28 hairpin descent in Switzerland. You should be able to ride in the rain around corners at a certain speed without falling on your backside. Like, just things like that. I mean,
it'd make a great TV show.
Though?
Well, I think it should be to race in under 23 UCI races and also junior UCI races. Now, there's no real junior UCI races. They still are backed by federations. There are UCI tours. But I think to get into a national federation, you should make your riders do a skills test.
But hang on, how do you fail and pass that? I mean, Remco took a corner too quick, went over a bridge, nearly died.
But that's the thing. You're making a rule up. We're riding around in Lycra with a foam helmet, and the reason this sport is so magnificent is because we go up and down mountains, across bridges, in the rain, hail, sunshine, at speed. So don't tell me they didn't crash in the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s.
Yeah, but how do you pass or fail them?
Well, they've just got to be able to do a basic skills test. And then literally they have to say, like, I don't know, it's getting lawyers involved with the sport about writing waivers about how you can't. Like, that's why we have insurance policies.
I think it would actually be really interesting if you had like a minimum skill requirement, and at the beginning of each season or every 3 years, whatever period, people had to take the test.
Yeah, do it 2 days before national championships to enter the national championships of your country.
Accidents will still happen. Like, you're still going to have people overcooking corners and whatever, but I think that's different to people just not having the skills to do it.
Yeah.
What's the number one skill you'd put in there?
It'd be descending.
Descending.
You'd have to learn how to descend. So there's a lot of talk around now banning the 10-tooth on SRAM because they put 58-10. And I understand, like, you ride faster, but, like, everyone's got a limit. Everyone has to have their own limit in cycling, and that's why it's professional cycling or under 23 level cycling. You got to ride to your limit, and if you crash, it's actually your fault. It is your fault. Like, I think the UCI should be spending a lot more time on making courses safer. Black eye, yeah.
Yeah, so. Like, courses can be safer, riders can be safer. I'm glad you mentioned the 10-tooth cog. UCI says get rid of that too. So they're bringing in a trial. The maximum gear will be 54.11, not 54.10. Ostensibly, again, safety, about making it more about the rider's legs and skills, not about the gear where they're getting up to these massive speeds. What do you think about that?
Well, I understand you're still going to win a race, right? You're still going to win a race whether you're in the 52 on a SRAM 10 or what was the other one you said, 54.11?
So 54.11 is what the limit will be.
I think that roughly works out to a 52.10 on SRAM, so it'll be that gear ratio. My idea on that is I think that in certain scenarios you should be able to ride a big... So say a flat Tour de France stage. You've got, I'm going to go back here, Marcel Kittel, 90 kilos. Caleb Ewan, 68 kilos, right? Marcel Kittel can ride a bigger gear. Caleb is just pure acceleration sprint, come off the wheel sprinter. So now you put a 90 kilo sprinter riding a smaller gear when he can push a bigger gear. So you're actually hampering the sprinters by not being able to ride the gear that they can push because you think they're going too fast. Did you hear what I just said? Did that make any sense to you?
It did not make a lot of sense.
Yeah, like that, so what you're actually saying is that what the UCI is actually saying, not you, Kate, is that we are going to now disadvantage the bigger sprinters because we think you're going too fast.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous.
So interestingly, it's been spoken about inside the velodrome for a little while. I've spoken to Scott McGrory about this before. We talked about it at the Olympics, that will they get to a point where they do limit gears because the sprinters are getting faster and faster and it's actually becoming dangerous with the G-forces and the banking, right? And the reason they don't is they say, oh, it's a very controlled environment, so we're not too concerned about that. But actually, because it's a controlled environment, you do know what's too fast. You know how much whereas you can push. On the road, depending on the course, depending on the finish, depending on the elements,
well,
how long's a piece of string?
Yeah, well, I just think that if they do that, they're just riding too fast down hills now. Like, if you crash because you're going too fast, you're an idiot. Like, you're stupid for going too fast.
That comes back to skills, right?
Correct.
You have to ride within skills.
A professional cyclist means you are a professional at cycling. So that doesn't mean you just ride fast up hills and do 750 watts for 3 minutes and I win races. No, it's about your skill level. It's about how you comport yourself on a bike, that you're not dangerous around other cyclists. It's about you going skillfully around a hairpin bend at 65 kilometres on the descent on the last climb, coming into the last climb of the Tour de France. Like, that means professional cycling. So for them to limit professional cyclists on the gear that they can ride, and anyone can purchase that gear to ride that, is hampering for our sport. And it's like saying to F1, no more. Sorry, no more. We cannot go any faster. Like, that's never going to happen.
And how nice is it to watch someone like Pidcock descend? Like, it's an art.
It is.
It's incredible.
That's like one of the most watched videos ever in cycling history on Instagram. Him going, that's just not famous with cyclists. That's famous with motorsport people. It is, and it brings our sport up. And now they're saying, hey, mate, Tommy, you're going to have to slow down because it's dangerous. How 1970s UCI is that? Where is our UCI going to actually go, no, we're going to let that? But then on the flip side, Kate, then you have Mark Madio, who's come out this week and said, let's ban bicycle computers, heart rate monitors, and race radios.
Yeah, see, that's just not going to happen. Like, that ship has sailed.
I kind of agree with him in certain aspects of that. Like, I believe that power meters should be banned from racing, not training.
Look, I get the idea. I've debated this before. Like, I love the idea of no metrics and they're just riding by heart and legs. But the reality is the sport's evolved beyond that. And to a degree, the future of broadcasting and entertainment relies on those metrics. I wish we could see in real time the watts, the heart rate, all of it. I wish that I could turn my TV on,
but
right?
We could see it. It doesn't mean they need to see it.
Well, no, that's true. But, I think that
I agree with you on that.
That ship's probably sailed. I'm going to go old school for a second before we wrap up this gear chat. So 5411, that's 132.5 inches. So for each pedal revolution, your bike travels 135 inches, which is about 3.3 metres, right?
Do you want me to bring in a whiteboard? Bring in a whiteboard.
5410 is 3.7 metres, so 145 inches. 10 inches is pretty big gap. The SRAM, 5210, that falls in the middle at 140 inches. So actually it may not be safe, which again is going to really annoy the manufacturers when that's become their standard.
Can you imagine if they had to not produce them anymore because they're not allowed to make them because they can't race with them? You can bankrupt companies doing that.
Yeah, I don't like I don't like that. What could be interesting, and I may throw my support behind, not that anybody's asking, but is what if we did a skills test and based on your results, then you got a gear allocation? That could be interesting. All right. Well, look, the UCI is always going to cause us drama.
Yeah, well, it kind of pops its ugly head up regularly within this podcast, Kate, doesn't it?
It
and
does.
I reckon it will always be a polarising figure and one that we, I am so disappointed with over the lifetime of my career and seeing, the young guys and girls that we've mentored over the last 20 years that the sport needs to move forward and not backwards. There's, they need support, manufacturers, teams, the whole lot, not this crap.
Well, lucky they cracked down on the lead-out guy celebrating. Lucky they cracked down on that, eh?
That was one of their truly insightful reforms. You mentioned Mark Matteo. I'm thinking like an earlier generation. We're seeing a bit of that come back in, but not through the influence that Matteo wants to put on. George Hincapie, he's back.
Yeah,
he's back with a very beautiful maroon. It's actually a little bit Queensland coloured jersey.
Hank was saying before the show we'd get George on the show, but not today.
Not today.
Well, I'll have to get him on the blower. But,
modern adventure pro cycling.
I reckon we can get. I know George pretty well. We raced together from the Junior Worlds in 1991 in Colorado Springs. To actually in that race was Jan Ulrich as well. Jan Ulrich and
let's get
George
Jan Ulrich
Hincapie.
on.
But
that'd be brilliant.
He's got his own podcast now.
He does, yeah, just a small little one.
Yeah, heard of it.
I think him and Zabel do it together. So that is pretty cool. But no, I reckon we can get George on here and talk about the new team.
Yeah, so it's called Modern Adventures Pro Cycling. They're starting in the Pro Tour, but they have dreams of being World Tour in 5 years. It's a little bit Trumpy. Make American cycling great again is essentially what he said. But America has so much talent. And we see it drip through, but what will it mean for them to have an American team back in the Pro Tour?
Well, it's really good to see another new team. Tell me how many new teams have turned up in cycling in the last decade. I don't reckon there's too many.
No, people think they're new because they've changed names.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's about it.
Well, every team, even Visma Lisa Bike, Jumbo Lisa Bike, from Bet City Lisa Bike, whatever. I don't even know what they're called now. There's probably some other one, and Red Bull's been through. Sky has turned now to Ineos Grenadiers. They all change, but it's really refreshing to see a new project. With some excellent mentors behind them. I know George was a meticulous person when he was racing. So I think, who wouldn't want to ride for George Hincapie? I think Ty Magna's involved as well, a long-time pro. There was another one, can't remember off the top of my head, but
George's son goes all right too.
Yeah, I think he's stagiaire with EF Pro Cycling currently. So I think he's still quite young. So he might be coming out of juniors into under 23s. But yeah, he's my age. So I mean, I've got a 24-year-old. So I probably started a bit earlier. But
well, Bobby Julick's involved as well. David Miller, Hincapie is going to run the whole organisation. Do you think that this will be a big draw card for the Americans already in the peloton? Do you think they'll be having their eye on coming back to an all-American squad?
Depends on the Benjamins, the dollars. Depends on... I think a lot of cyclists, when a new project starts, are wary until they see how it runs, whether they've got a good program, who's running it. A lot of cyclists don't go to new teams until they're established. He's saying 5 years in the Tour de France. I think that's a great goal to have because I think you need to have a goal in mind when you start a team. Is it just a feeder team? Like Axel Merckx has had a brilliant program. The Hagens-Bermans program has been around for near on 20 years. They could actually have a World Tour team from the riders that have come out of that squad into the World Tour. Is extraordinary. So I thought George was actually going to go that route, but it sounds as though maybe he wants to be the next EF Pro Cycling. He wants to be that big next program for the next 15 years.
Is a big difference the funding?
It's massive.
If you've got a huge amount of funding, you're not going to stay as a feeder team. You're going to go all the way?
Yeah, I think... I know that Hagens-Berman do have quite a wealthy benefactor in Mr. Berman. And like, I think he's a billionaire. Don't quote me on it, but like the difference in budget between what used to be Pro Continental, it's now called Pro Tour, and then World Tour, it's 10 times the budget. I think and don't quote me on this, but like UAE are a 55 million euro team, so that's 110 million Australian, and I think the cheapest team would be around 18 million euros per year. So, that's still 20 million US a year. So that's some big chunk of change to run a Pro Tour team. You've got to, it's 10 times the amount to go to World Tour. So, and George, I'm sure George has got lots of great connections over in the US, and I would love to see another World Tour team come out of the US because they've got some great talent and they're scattered just like the Aussies all over different teams. So it'd be great to have another one in the US.
Yeah, I mean, with the likes of Sepp Kuss, Quinn Simmons, McNulty, there's some pretty big names. And if you can get him on the show, I want to ask him about a women's team.
Oh, I'm sure there's scope for it. There possibly even is a women's team. We don't. None of the details have really been released, including the bike sponsor, I might add.
Ooh. For any super sleuths, if you do go on Instagram, you might be able to zoom in on some jerseys and get a hot tip on that.
Conversation for another day, but I can't believe there's not an Italian team in the World Tour. Just saying.
That is extraordinary, isn't it?
It is extraordinary. And you kind of don't believe it.
I had no idea, Maxie, that was the case. Yeah. Now that you've just mentioned it, I find that incredibly hard to believe that a country with so much history involved, Spain, Holland, Germany. Germany doesn't either, really, does it?
No, but who's running UAE?
Well, all the Italians.
All the Italians.
Yeah.
So
Gianetti, Baldato. Bora is German, yes, correct.
Yes, okay, that's a great, thank you, Merxie.
Good segue, Merxie.
Good segue, because one young rider, Luke Tuckwell, very nearly won himself the Baby Giro. He's riding in the development team for Red Bull. Wow. He's been the guy that you could have overlooked at national level because he's been...
And was overlooked.
Nearly on every podium. He's in the back of a lot of victory shots. He's thereabouts. Massive step up for him. How did he make this transition? Because for all intents and purposes, he'll be on a Pro Tour contract, World Tour contract pretty soon.
The way I kind of put him in and I shouldn't put anyone in a box, but he's kind of like that Simon Clark character. Just... that absolute bulldog who just scrapped and fought for a ride here and a ride there, won small races in Europe, used to ride for Inform, run top 5 in national road titles, got selected in some of the Australian teams as a younger rider, made it in that kind of top 8 in the World Championships for Australia, in and out, just boxed on, found some teams, found himself into Red Bull, and can I just add that the Baby Giro is by far and away the biggest under-23 race on earth. It is incredibly difficult. We're talking, unbelievable amounts of climbing through the Dolomites, some of the hardest regions in Italy to race, and every single under-23 program in the world bases their entire season around the Giro. So, Kate, you've raced in Italy and you know how unbelievably hard it is. ARA, Skip Capital, raced at the Baby Giro for the last couple of years. Really struggled even with riders like Hamish McKenzie and Brady Gilmore and riders like that. Some didn't even finish. Now, he's run second. That is a massive result. Put that name on your list for the future of Australian, men's road cycling, because he will be signing a contract with Red Bull, moving next to Mr. Jai Hindley into that squad, and I'm really excited to see his progression. So a name you haven't heard very much before, especially even on this podcast, probably the first time we've talked about him. The young fella has arrived.
Yeah. And he's from country New South Wales. He's from Orange, rode for Bathurst, so Mark Renshaw kind of territory.
Yep.
It's great bike riding out there. It's beautiful. He was beaten by Jakob Ormsel from Bahrain Victorious development team, only 12 seconds. It's an 8-stage race. It's a big one. We call it the Baby Giro. It's called the Giro d'Italia Next Gen officially.
Yes.
But Baby Giro, for anybody in the sport who's been talking about it for years, it's always one of those things you watch, because if you're not looking at the results there, in a couple of years' time, you'll say, where did this guy come from? And you'll look back and be like,
Yeah. And I can guarantee you, if you went through the last 25 years of the top 10 in the Baby Giro, I reckon 80% of those riders had 5 to 10 year contracts in the World Tour in current teams. So if he's run second, we've got another superstar coming up through the ranks. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, he's 182 centimetres, pretty slight build. So very good climber, very dynamic.
So he's 6 foot and he can climb.
Yeah.
Well, 183 centimetres is
technically
what I am. So I call myself 6 foot. But I did break 2 bones in my neck and back, so I'm probably 182 now.
Well, it's similar to a Ben O'Connor kind of
Ben's
physique.
Actually probably a little taller, but that
That body shape, like tall and lean. Long levers.
So, well, that's another one that got away from Jaco Alula.
Yeah, another one. Well, so Tuckwell was the only Aussie in the race. There was a Kiwi out there as well. Even that fact shows that he got the opportunity. It's a very big ride for him.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad too that is the case, Kate. When we talk about under 23, specifically only men's, but means the same for the women, that we lost Bridgelane as an under 23 squad, which was a fantastic program. We lost ARA Skip Capital as a under 23 program. They've now refocused to being a junior program, but like in past races, both of those teams would have been racing the Giro and would have had, 10 or 12, or 16 was 7. 14 riders, Aussies, showing their wares in that. But
we've had 4 Aussies on the podium in this race in the past. Lucas Hamilton was second in 2017. Hindley was third, is he? Right?
Who?
Hindley was third. Yeah. Rob Stannard, he was third in 2018. Oh, actually 5. Matty Lloyd, he was third in 2006. And Scotty Davis,
so
he was third in 2002. Bundy boy.
Love Scotty.
Yeah, people talk about Alan a lot, but Scott was a solid rider.
Stellar careers that had and are still going now. So, we've got another one to talk about for the next 10 years, which is fantastic to see that coming through. And he did it his own way too, which is fantastic. And not just, he did that, that real grinter, progression through European teams and, scrapping a ride here and there. So well done to the young man.
All right, in 2018, a young man by the name of Almeida got second at the Baby Giro. Mm-hmm. This week, he's blown everybody's socks off at the Tour de Suisse.
Yes. Just another strong guy to sit next to Pog at the Tour, isn't it?
Well, Kate? So he won with a monster performance in an uphill time trial. Tell us who got 5th in that time trial.
A very good young Queenslander by the name of Harry Sweeney, who is known not as an uphill time trialist. This guy is like a do-it-all, Mr. Fix-It. I'll do the classics. I'll do the Giros. I'll do a lead-out. Harry is like a super strong bike rider, and he's just decided to have a crack. Last stage of the Tour de Suisse, I'm going to run top 5 up a mountain time trial up against blokes who are half a bag or a bag of cement, like leaner than I am.
So he's like the Aussie Wout. Aussie Wout.
Oh, we could start calling him the Aussie
Wout.
I think that's so. Kind of it's a bit of a compliment towards Harry. Yeah.
He's Queenslander. The first year that he rode the Tour de France, it was fantastic. Like, they got some great sound bites out of him. They threw him in at the last minute. They threw him in at the last minute, but he got in lots of breaks. He was there and thereabouts, and he was, even when he was suffering, he was still talking to media, he was still turning up, he was still giving it a crack. Huge show of his character. Like, from that, you just knew that he would go as far in the sport as he possibly could, because he was just the full package.
Yeah, and he's just like ticking some boxes for the team. He must be selected for the Tour after that ride, surely.
Well, EF, yeah. I mean, come on, EF. They've got a good squad going to the Tour. And
Well,
we certainly hope
their
that
team
he's
leader
in
won
there.
a one-day race 2 days ago. His name escapes me.
Powerless, no.
Yeah, Powerless. So Powerless won a one-day race in Switzerland, I think, which is weird. I think it was just before Tour de Suisse. But yeah, so they look as though they've got a good little squad coming there. But is Carapaz going? Do you know? I'm not sure if he's actually going to the Tour after having a big Giro, obviously. I mean, we can frantically Google here.
Yeah, I will frantically Google that.
But yeah, I mean, Harry Sweeney, Mr. Fix-It, a massive. But moving on quickly, Mr. Ben O'Connor.
Yeah, let's talk about Ben O'Connor. We had a
difference of
ride.
opinions last week, Kate.
We did. I thought that he could really give GC a crack. You thought I was slightly mad.
Well, no. I actually heard Matt Keenan actually believes wholly and solely that he's going for GC in this year's Tour de France. So I respect both of your opinions, but he's still lost 5 minutes
if I have to have somebody
Almeida.
sharing my view, I'd say Matt Keenan's a good one to share a view with, Mr. Encyclopedia himself.
He is an encyclopedia.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Absolutely.
He joined us before he went to France a couple of years ago for a show. But I do think that his ambitions at the Tour de France will actually largely come from what the team want him to do, not necessarily what he would prefer to do. But he had a pretty solid ride at Swiss. Like, he showed that he's in good form. And maybe his form isn't too good. You know, maybe he's coming in slightly undercooked, which for a Tour de France is often a good thing to ride into it.
Yeah, you only need to be good in the third week of the Tour, not necessarily in the first 10 days of every Tour de France. Yes, you can lose the Tour in the first 10 days, but you can't win it. So a lot of riders do come good in the third week of the Tour. So, Ben got in a good break, was away, made up some time, but then finished 5 minutes back from the beast that is Almeida, which is, I mean, it's a good result.
It's a good result. I mean,
Tour of Switzerland is a very, very hard. It was a filthy weather, rainy, shitty. You know, the opposite of Dauphiné, which is like extremely hot. So yeah, I mean, he's ticking some boxes as well. He's looking good for the Tour. Once again, gets in breaks, super strong bike rider. And yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how Ben's going to go over.
As am I. I want to talk about Almeida and UAE a bit more, because I just think that there's a potential disaster waiting to happen with so many cooks in the kitchen there. But Google has done its work for me so far. Pro Cycling Stats, I'll credit them. Carapaz, Powless, Sweeney, Healy and Owain Doull are confirmed. And then they're looking at Soler, Froelich, Honor and Archie Ryan.
That is a super strong
It's a super squad. I actually like Ben Healy, big fan. If you remember a couple of years ago when he burst onto the scene, Grand Tours, is such a fun rider. And to have another youngster, Archie Ryan, another Irish guy in there, I just think that's a fun team.
Yeah,
they're good to watch racing.
I cannot believe Ben Healy. When for all the cycling people out there who've seen Ben Healy race, he's small, he's kind of awkward looking, but oh my God, he is strong. He is
kind of
so
awkward looking. I love it.
He doesn't look, classy on the bike. He's kind of a little bit crossed up and head goes a bit to the right, but road goes uphill and everyone starts breathing out puffing and huffing and puffing, and Ben Healy goes, right, I'm out of here. And do remember when Pog won the Worlds, he was literally the second strongest guy in the World Championships when Pog won. I love watching him race. You know that he's going to be in every stinking breakaway there is possible, because I don't think he's another guy that is going to win the Tour de France, but you can guarantee he's going to tick off a Tour de France stage win out of the break for sure, no doubt. And I guarantee Mr. Ben O'Connor is going to be with him. So they're the kind of guys that just animate the Tour de France, and I love watching him. And actually, EF do a really, really good job I believe in animating bike races. There's a lot of teams out there, like Picnic Post down Ella. Well, tell me a result that they've done. I mean, Oscar Onley's absolutely flying.
Yeah, and he had a really good Tour de Suisse.
I mean, he's in some red-hot form.
Great Tour Down Under as well.
Yeah, they won one stage of the Giro and the sprint, but you just don't see them. Animating races. And no knock on them, because every team's at a different level and they have different priorities and everything else. But love seeing those pink jerseys going up the road. They're always in it. They're always attacking. And Paulus, like Olympic road race, he was the one that was launching non-stop in the Olympic road race, riding for America. I just love how they race that team. I think they've got some great directors sportives in Andreas Clear. Couple other guys, Charlie Wigilius. They've done that. They do a great job. So EF, yeah.
All right.
And also, I might just throw in a little plug,
please,
for Alistair McKellar.
Yep.
Who was just thrown in at the very last hour, in the last 24 hours, was chucked straight into the Dauphiné Libéré with the Tour de France riders as a first-year Neo. And they chucked him on the front in the middle of these horrible, hard, hot stages, got through it, finished the race. So they're really impressed with him. So, yeah, young Al's progressing very well.
Well, we've got a very big month ahead, because on the 5th of July, Grand Depart for the Tour de France. On the 6th of July, the Women's Giro starts. Lorena Vibes, she has been sprinting like she's possessed. She took a big win in Copenhagen. I reckon she'll be certainly a very big one to watch, not just for the Giro, but for the Women's Tour as well. UAE, they win Swiss. They don't win the Giro.
No, they didn't. We talked about that.
What on earth is going to happen for the Tour when you've got Yates, Almeida, Pogacar? Are there too many cooks in the kitchen, or are they all in for Pogacar, or are they looking at it like, hey, we've got different options on the mountain days?
Nah, there's only one master chef. Do you like that one?
I do. I do. Can we snip that out, Merksy?
Wow.
Soundbite?
There's only one master chef, and he is playing with people. And
you think?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to bring something up. I'm going to throw this. This is not in the rundown.
Oh, here we go.
It's not in the rundown.
It scares me when you do this, but all right.
It's gone rogue.
So Philippe Gilbert over the weekend has actually had a massive crack on French television about how Pogacar is being a little bit arrogant, and he needs to pull his effing head in.
Is that Phil Gill's gone a bit off script since he's
he's got to stay relevant
got a microphone in his hand.
Because he does a lot of throwback Tuesdays and a lot of throwback Fridays. When cyclists retire and they chuck up a video of when they did that race 15 years ago.
Yeah, they're not quite sure where they fit in yet.
Anyway, Phil Gill, he does a fair bit of that. Legend, love him, a lot of respect for him. Actually donated a jersey to us because we fixed him up a pair of Santini Nicks back in the day when I used to work for that company a long, long time ago. So I really like him, a lot of respect. But he's thrown a curveball out today over the last 24 hours saying that Pog needs to put his head in and he's a little bit arrogant. And Pog mentioned that he didn't want to do any ceremony protocolaire after the finish because it stops his recovery. And that
Sozzy, that's part of it.
Sorry, yeah, sponsors pay for these races, buddy. Otherwise, you're just racing in the sand dunes of United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
So you can always go and ride over there.
What does he want, a body double or something?
No, I don't know.
Like he wants the jersey up there, but he doesn't want to have to do it.
Maybe they just need to get him a helicopter off the mountain like Lanch and Le Mans used to do. But no, he actually had a crack at him as well on this, and I found this interesting. He's pulled the point out that, Poggy comes over, sitting in the seat, having a laugh, and then Vingegaard comes over, can't even sit on his bike, and he's huffing and puffing, and then Evenepoel comes in 3 minutes later, and he's empty, and then guys are finishing just within the time limit, and he's walking around like a rooster, running the joint, going whatever. He's like, you need to maybe have a little bit more humility.
Okay, but maybe what about
if he's just better?
He's time. What about if he's just better? Like, so sad, too bad. No, what about if he's timed his run a bit off and he's in such good form now, but by the third week of the tour, he's cooked?
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
It's happened before.
It only happened before because he broke his hand and he couldn't train. So he had to get on Zwift. And that only worked for Heyman.
It only worked for Heyman.
And Javon.
And I've been jumping on my Zwift bike a bit. I can tell you I'm not feeling that factor. I don't feel like I could go out and win a tour, but, see how we go.
I think this stems back a little bit, and the French are always quite passionate about their sport, and I love that about the French, and I love Phil Gill saying that as well, is they want to see a human race. So they want to see Vingegaard attack and take 15 seconds one day, and they want to see Pog attack and get a minute, and then they want to see, Vingegaard claw some back in the time trial so that we have this, epic battle. What they don't want to see is Vingegaard going absolutely full gas up a climb and Vingegaard sitting up on a 20k climb doing 30k an hour uphill, having a drink, going, really? Is this all you got, man?
Yeah, maybe it's a head game.
Yeah, it is a bit of a head game, and I think they want to see a human race, and not the human race. I think they want to see, possibly him even acting like he's suffering, which is stupid, really, when you think of it. But yeah, I understand how his points come across, but when you're better, you're just better.
Oh, well, we'll be watching closely. Hank, before we go this week, you've got a beautiful bike behind you. We mentioned it when we sat down.
Noticed that.
Nobody noticed.
How did that get there?
Factor. It even has Dricus written on it. Tell me about this paint job, because this is a beautiful custom paint job. It's got all of the little details, including a custom-made UCI sticker for you.
This is the bike that I was very kindly given by ARA Skip Capital fellas, Benny and Maddie. They, as kind of a parting gift, they actually let me have my Ostro Van V1 with SRAM Force on it, and it's pretty much worse for wear because I'd been around the world with it. There was a couple of chips and things on in the paint job from wear and tear. So
what size is it, mate?
It's not yours,
what
mate.
Size?
Not your size.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I can't leave it here while I go to Europe. You can put the seat down.
Well, you can.
True, actually, I can. But no, a lovely guy from the Sunshine Coast, Scotty Service, his name is actually, and he just said, mate, I'll paint your bike. So he just put some really cool things on it, like my nickname. That sticker, Hank Vogel's edition, and signatures on the back, and he's faded the handlebars and done a really fantastic job.
And there's a Harlem lion on the top.
Yes, and that's a little bit of homage to Dad. Dad was born in Harlem. When you see it, it looks like the Lion Flanders. It's not. It's the Lion of Harlem. Dad was born there in just after the during the Second World War. So so that was a really cool little
beautiful
present there. So, but it's a lovely bike, and hopefully we can get factory involved with the Wheelhouse a bit down the track.
You had a dealer conference this week or last week. That's why we didn't get everyone together in the bunker. No,
that's right. We had our first ever Factor dealer event, and it's a growing brand. They've done a great job with it in Australia. Actually, pretty much launched here. Baden Cook and Kel McCulloch and Rob Gatellis were the three owners, and they kind of started. Factor started, BF1 in the UK with a motorsport company, but Rob Gatellis took it on board, and it's been growing at a rate of knots, and Factor's going really well. They've got that new beautiful bike coming out very, very soon, which we saw Jake riding on in the Dauphiné. So
what's that one called?
I can't say. I'm actually
I know
contracted. I know you're just a shit stirrer, mate.
Let's just call it the Jakey special.
So it could be the Jake Stewart special.
Well, it's while you've been with all your Factor dealers, I've been trying to learn a little bit of tech myself. Merksy, he's into cameras, right? You love the cameras, Merksy. I've got myself a Cyclic Fly 6 and 12 that go front and back of bikes. So they're lights and they're cameras. I've got myself a Garmin Varia radar. So it actually connects to my Wahoo here. See, I avoided bike computers for a very long time. So this is like me really updating my tech.
Lovely.
And it connects and tells me when a car's approaching.
Yeah, the radar function.
So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And I am trying to figure out how many times each ride cars pass too close.
Mm-hmm.
So just take us through that again. What? This is like the
Yeah.
shopping channel.
It is. No, look, honestly, if you've got some money that you want to spend and can find a way to tax deduct it before the end of the financial year, get on it. The cyclics, they're lights, which are very important during the day as well, but also cameras, so front-facing and rear-facing. And you can tag on the camera itself if you think there's been an incident, a close pass or any other kind of incident, and download it. And you can use it to go to the police to get enforcement for our minimum passing distance laws. And the same with the Garmin. And I do encourage people, if you have any of these devices or even a GoPro and you find a close pass, report it to your state.
There's been many convictions and tickets issued via those devices.
I mean, we can do a lot better, but the more people that feel empowered to actually, and you know what, tag us in your videos, send them to us. It was really interesting.
Also good to record the time I dropped Hank on Mount Cootha, and he's out the back.
Yeah, I mean, then you can
Pity you
actually
didn't
see
have that one
his
on video.
I was in a car.
Exactly. Well, that's okay.
I've got can I have a little point about that one,
Yeah,
Kate?
which one?
With the Fly 6 front and rear.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name any names here just because I don't want to, but I know a couple that were involved in one of the teams I've been recently involved with. Now, a couple, one was riding, was hit by a drug-affected motorist. He had the rear camera on. He spent many days in hospital. He did recover from his incident. This was some years ago. I won't say what year, but they used that camera footage, and he was awarded a 7-figure amount just because of that camera. And his partner went through the exact same thing, and she's going through a similar thing now, where she will also get a 6 or 7 figure payout by buying I'm not sure the price on these devices, but $100 or a couple of $100 for those. They're now going to be okay financially forever because they were covered via those videos, which put the driver at fault, and it's helped them immensely financially. And you don't do things for financial purposes; it's for safety, obviously, so that doesn't happen. But yeah, it's a great little thing to put. Every bike rider should have a video camera on as soon as it's like doing your shoelaces up. Really, you should just turn your camera on, put your helmet on, and go for a ride.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, through the foundation, we're working very hard to increase the enforcement, and the more people with devices, it is evidence.
Yes.
So I do encourage everybody
it's like an insurance
to do that. Yeah, and it is quite interesting actually when you download it and see, because sometimes you know when incidents have occurred and other times you really don't. So the videos can be quite interesting. Finally, before we go, every year, the last Sunday of June,
here we go.
The crazy people in Melbourne.
This is not in the rundown.
No, they get very excited for what they call the Melbourne's Hell of Northcote, the Melbourne Roubaix.
Oh, God.
Yeah, have you not heard of it? It's in the
I've heard about
20th
it.
year.
So this goes through the back alleyways in through the city and all the little cobble sections.
Yeah, all the dirt paths, all the bike lanes. Now, you register, you turn up on the day, you get a printed map. So don't worry about your Wahoo or your Garmin. You get a printed map and off you go on your little adventure. There's no timing chips, there's no podiums. It's just it's a bit of fun.
What are you going to do? Like hold a piece of paper while you're going over cobbled driveways?
Well, I suggest that you would stop along the way, like old school navigating.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, it's good that. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Did you say it's in the nude?
No, I just thought.
Where did you get that from?
Hank said in the nude.
Well, I just thought we were just going to throw something crazy out,
it's
like
Melbourne.
nude bike ride.
It's not the Sunshine Coast, mate.
No.
It's 4 degrees.
That's like the Tiff Cromwell ride in Adelaide where they all get in their undies.
Oh, yeah, in their togs.
The undie ride.
Yeah.
Is it tog ride?
I think it's togs because I think they go down to Henley Beach.
Actually, I got to talk to Tiff because I know someone that works for budgie smugglers.
Oh.
So we should get budgie smugglers to sponsor Tiff's ride.
And
actually, they're mine already.
Via the Wheelhouse.
Bottas already had his budgies on.
Bottas did have his budgies on.
Yeah.
Yes. Put your budgies on a Bottas. Oh, there's
Bottas's budgie.
Bottas's budgies.
I got your joke.
You did.
Don't touch my Bottas.
Oh my God.
That's what Tiff said anyway.
I like to finish on a high note. I think that is pretty much it. But will you go to France tomorrow? So Spread, Borough, Merksy and I are going to have to carry the bunker for a while.
No, we're going to get really techie savvy, and I'm going to do techie. Yeah, that's how much techie savvy I am. I know where the enter button is on my computer.
Okay, excellent.
But yeah, no, we'll try and do some crossovers. I will be over there, so it might be in a bit of a different time difference. I'm either going to have to get up. I think I'm going to have to get up pretty early.
What do you mean try and do? It's in your bloody contract, mate. You're going to do it.
You'll be doing it.
Oh, I know.
You'll be doing it.
I know, I will be doing it.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us for another week. You've heard it here. Vogels will be getting up at the crack of dawn for his crosses from France. There's a little bit of leisure involved, a little bit of work. What big mountain are you going to climb up so that we
Just
can...
all of them.
All of them?
Yes, I'm going with Velo Tours for the month of July. So, yeah, which I've done for the last 8 years. I think it's still great to be connected, and you meet a lot of good people in business, and that's how I got ARA and met Stu Harmer from ARA, one of the directors of the company, and that is now one of the largest sponsors in Australian cycling. So some networking going on for Factor as well, but a little bit of fitness and riding, and I've been working flat out for 6 months now, so I probably need a little bit of a break.
And you were saying before the show, Hank, you'll get some sponsors for this show.
Yes, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Thanks,
always working on sponsorship for people who promote cycling.
Well, shout out to Bike Bud.
Yes. Well, look, my little Tour de France, you got me, Merksy. My little Tour de France tradition is to get on Zwift and ride all the French climbs. Alpe d'Huez and Ventoux, like all of the ones in the Zwift world. So I'll be virtually riding along with you. That's the best I can do.
No, well, you can do one while you're doing Zwift.
Yeah, I'll race you up Alpe d'Huez.
Look at him shaking his head.
He's like, I don't know about that.
Oh, I just can't do stationary trainers. I'd rather stick a forker in my ear until it's bleeding than sit in a garage and sweat. I've got to have wind in my hair while I still got it.
Well, I guess Zwift won't be a sponsor.
No, well, my whoosh has Parramatta Park in it. So when I'm, feeling the draw to my roots out Western Sydney, Parramatta Park's right there. Like, there's bonuses to it. I'm just saying.
No, I get it. There's always something for someone.
Always something.
We can't all live on the Sunshine Coast, Hank.
No.
Yeah, you can. It's only an hour up the road, buddy.
All right. Well, over and out. Thank you for joining us. And, we'll see you soon. He'll be in France. We'll be in the bunker.
Yes, and I'm not leaving the bike here, Maxie.
Yeah. Just come in and grab it, Merksy, before he can run off with it.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Tough bickies.
No, bonjour.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.